how to save money as a photographer while also building a business that will actually help you and your family for the long run. That's what today's video is about, because I'm very passionate about making sure that you're actually building a business that's helping your family financially throughout the years. So in this video, I'm talking about a bunch of different steps that you can take to help gradually and consistently save money for your family over time. Number one, the first thing I recommend doing for your photography business is setting up a business bank account. And I highly recommend using Relay Financial as your online business bank account of choice. I actually made a video on it, and when that video comes out, I think it's coming out on Friday actually. It's going to be linked right up there. And so you can go check that out to see if you would like to use Relay Financial for your photography business or whatever other business you have. Relay Financial is a great bank account for many different business owners. So the first thing you've done is you've set up your business bank account, and for this video's sake, let's just say that you did choose to use Relay Financial. So step one is complete. Step number two is that when money hits your bank account, so what you're gonna do, you're gonna set up a checking account within that bank account, and you can actually have a whole bunch of different checking accounts within Relay Financial, but you need to make sure that you're having a checking account that's like specifically made for just like all your business money to come into. So like when someone pays you or whatever, that money goes into one checking account. That way you can track all the money that's come into your business within that year. So basically, as soon as money hits that checking account, the first thing you need to do, you need to set aside 10% of that money to like a retirement fund. And this can be like paying yourself, but I actually recommend that you have a 10% retirement fund that you do. So like all the money that comes in, you set 10% aside for your retirement fund. That way you can grow that over the years. And then if you can, I also recommend picking another percentage to set aside to actually pay yourself. You know, some people say, make sure you're paying yourself like at least 30%. Some people will say 50% of what you're making, but I really just think it's going to depend on your business and how many business expenses you have and just the cost of running everything like that. But if you can at least get up to 30% paying yourself, that would be amazing if you can just like set that aside in another checking account. So you have the first checking account is the account that all the money comes into when money first comes into your bank. And then you take 10% and put that into like, I call it my JC retirement fund is what I call it. And then the third checking account could be like an account that's you're going to pay yourself to like your personal bank account for the work that you're doing within your business. And that could honestly range anywhere from 10% to 50% of the money that's coming into your business bank account. Hey there, I'm Jennifer, and I just wanted to take a small little commercial break and thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you for coming back to my channel today. If you have liked this video, you like the content, and you think it's really helpful, and you'd like to see more content similar to this, specifically towards business side photography and like the financial side, all those fun things. If you want to see more videos about this, then write in the comments what specific things you'd like to see. That way I can make more videos that are helpful for you. Also, like this video if you like the content, and subscribe to the channel so that you can keep coming back to see more helpful information from us. So I know that you are anxious to learn more about how to save money in your photography business, so I am going to get right back into this video for you. Number three, something else you can do is if you want to within your business, you can set aside 10% of everything you make for a charity of your choice. So that's something that my husband and I have done in the past, and we're still trying to figure out if we're going to keep doing that and things like that. But so this is basically like 10% of the money that your business makes that you can set aside in like a charity checking account so that you can do that as well. And it's also a tax deduction, but it's just like a cool way to help other people using your business. Now I just want to say a quick little disclaimer here. I am not a tax expert by any means of the imagination. This is just friendly advice from a photographer who loves business and who loves the financial side of photography and business, and just wanted to share with you what I've been doing to just help to save money in my photography business. Number four is you're going to create another checking account, and you're going to set aside at least 15% of the money that hits that first checking account into a separate tax account. Now, I recommend that you probably should be setting aside 20 to 25%, but this is really going to depend on like where you are. Currently, I'm doing 15 just because I had so many business expenses this year that I just did not think I would need to put 25% of the money coming in towards taxes because I was investing so much money back into the business to build it and everything like that. So this is really going to depend on what year in business you are. If you are past year 3 of business, then you're probably going to need to set at least 20% aside just in case, just so it's sitting there in a tax account so you know when you need to pay taxes, it's there and you didn't accidentally spend it, basically. Number 5 is, I kind of already talked about this and I'm thinking about it, and step number 2. But step number 5 is, if you can, set aside at least 30% of the money that comes into your bank to pay yourself. But again, I also realize that this is probably, it might not be realistic. It's really going to depend on you and your business and just how you run things. But you do want to make sure you're paying yourself something so you actually are helping your family and contributing financially. I'll be totally honest in that building a business so much involves investing back into the business within the first 2 to 3 years that you really don't actually pay yourself a lot within those first 2 to 3 years. I have paid myself a little bit, but it is nowhere near to a full year's salary or anything like that. I just know and believe that if I just keep going on and keep working really hard, that eventually I will be able to start paying myself more so that the business can actually really help my family. And I already truly believe that the business has helped my family. There's so many ways that it has helped us, me and Daniel. It's helped us to travel and see family more because of the flexibility of the business. So sometimes there can even be perks to having a business that isn't even like financial, but I overall just love having the business and being able to serve the clients that we do. So to me, it is worth it. And I believe that I will continue to see the fruits of our labor as we progress. Step 6 is, now you probably are going to end up with about maybe like 40 to 50% of the money left that has come into your business to pay for business expenses. Now that could be high, but again, this depends on what stage of the business you're at. But really ideally, you should probably get it to a point where you only are paying about 25% of your business income in actual business expenses, because once it goes over 25%, you're just paying for business basically. And it gets kind of crazy. As you grow the business, you do want to find ways to reduce business expenses. Again, in that first 2 to 3 years, you might not be able to reduce it as much as you'd like, just because there's a lot of startup costs and a lot of costs that you have to deal with. But again, just trying to get, the business expenses to a place where it is maybe at least like 30% or below what you're actually making. Now, another little bonus tip I would say is that I would highly recommend trying to set aside even more money into a savings account so that you can't touch it for business expenses. This is a really, really good mindset to start to keep in mind. And I'm going to recommend the book Profit First. I'll have a link to it down in the description of this video. But Profit First is really going to help you have a mindset of making sure that you are paying yourself something first, even if it's small, for a little while. This is important because you really should be financially benefiting from all the work you're doing. I mean, you are working hard. You are doing so much. So that means that you really do need to make sure you are paying yourself something, even if that is only 10% of the money you make within your first year of doing photography. And I'm serious, because this can add up. I think about this and I truly wish that I had started saving 10% of everything I made for my retirement in high school, because I look back on it and I thought about it and I was like, I could have saved so much more money for retirement. If I had just left it there and chosen to not touch it, I could have actually saved money from retirement starting at 15 or 16, whenever I had my first job. And while I did save money back then, I wasn't thinking about it for retirement. But now I think about it, if you get into the habit of 10% aside, you're not going to miss it after a while. You're going to just make it work and find other places to cut. So I would highly recommend trying to save as much as possible and getting into that habit from the start. Now I understand this isn't always possible, because some months when you're first starting a business can be really expensive, with equipment, startup costs, if you're investing in any coaching or mentoring just to grow your business and help you get a hard start. It could be hard, but again, 10%, it's gonna be worth it if you just at least commit to doing that number. And again, this is coming from someone who's had months of business expenses ranging from about $300 all the way up to $3,000 a month. So I understand that it can be really, really hard to consistently pay yourself when you're first growing a business, but I found that I'm still able to try to make 10% work no matter what. So what's the point of all this 10% saving, or whatever number you choose, whether it's 10%, 20%, 30%, or higher? That would be amazing to do. So the goal is that by the end of the year, you have at least saved 10% of everything you made for your retirement fund. In my case, it's my JC retirement fund. And this is important since we don't have retirement funds just automatically given to us as photographers from running a business. We don't have companies who are giving us all these 401k plans, all these plans. If we want to retire someday, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't really want to retire retire. It's more like I just believe that saving is wise and a good idea for the future. And so that's what I'm choosing to do. That's what Dane and I are choosing to do. But the goal of all this saving, 10% saving, let's just say that by the end of your first year of photography, you've made $10,000, which that's actually really, really good for your first year of photography. Trust me, really good. So let's say that $10,000, 10% of that is $1,000. That means that you saved $1,000 to put in your retirement fund from your photography business. Like, that's great. Like, imagine if you hadn't have done that, then you wouldn't have that $1,000. So then if you get to the point where you're making $50K in your photography business, then you save $5,000. And then if you ever get to that six-figure mark of $100K a year, then you'll get $10K into your retirement fund. So you can kind of see how it can add up over time. Now, it's not like the most amazing number, but it's something. And I think that's the important part. So let's say that if you run your photography business for 50 years or whatever business you're doing, or let's even say that you start a photography business and you run that for 10 years and you transition that into another business. Like, I've known so many people who've done that. Like, you can totally, like, the great thing about being a business owner is that you can transition and pivot your businesses to fit different parts of your life that's happening. Like, that is totally fine, acceptable to do. That's the freedom you have as a business owner who has multiple different skills. So if you're already saving 10% for your retirement fund for 50 years, that means that, you know, at the end of 50 years, you're going to have at least like $500K saved up, hopefully. And hopefully with investing and like inflation and all that crazy stuff, you know, like you could have hopefully like maybe a couple of million. Just think, like, if you're like 20 and starting a photography business, or if you're 30 or 40 or starting a photography business, whatever age you are, I think just doing this could make a huge impact on your future if you just consistently commit to 10% to retirement fund. And I think that's one of the best ways how to save money as a photographer with a small business, bigger business, whatever you have. That's just something that I found has really helped me to keep, you know, pushing me forward, to give me hope. This is just a strategy that I've implemented into my business this year that has really, really helped me. And I truly wish I'd started implementing this strategy at least 10 years ago. And the great thing about the strategy is that you can use it for pretty much every business. It is not just photography. You can use it for any business, and I highly recommend you use it for any business. Again, these principles are kind of based off the book Profit First. And so I'm gonna link that book down in the description of this video. That way you can go check it out if you want to learn more about how to kind of structure the money side of your business. Now, if you want to save more money as a photographer than just 10%, I highly recommend doing that. I highly recommend finding ways to cut business expenses and figure out ways to actually pay yourself so you can truly contribute to your family's finances from your photography business. Now, I'm gonna be honest, there are some business expenses that you just can't cut because they are needed to run your business, and that's fine. But I also find that there are some things that you don't always have to do, and there are ways to reduce business expenses sometimes. So I highly recommend trying to get yourself to a point where you can at least pay yourself 30% of what you're making, like to your personal bank account to help your family, and then also setting aside that 10% to your retirement fund. That way you are saving 40% of what you're making. I think if you can at least get to that point, you're doing really good. And then if you can eventually get to 50%, where like 40% goes to paying yourself, 10% goes to retirement fund, then 50% of the money you're making is going to you, which I think that would be absolutely ideal. Now, earlier in this video, I talked about the online business bank account that I use, Relay Financial. And if you would like to learn more about Relay Financial, on Friday, I've made another video that's coming out, and it is called the best business bank account for you to use in your small business. So if you are interested in learning about that business bank account and seeing if you want to use it for your business, then you can go check out that video next.